Hello and welcome back to Solid, where we like the football nerds. We really do. We appreciate them. We appreciate what they do with their EPAs and their DVOAs. But at the end of the day, we're all just concussion uncles, man. We understand that it's not the smartest thing to do to run the football on first down, but run the goddamn ball. Just run the ball. It's smart football but dumb. My name is Jake. Thank you guys very much for joining me. Today is Wednesday, August 5th, and we're going to keep it going with our little season preview, our off-season recap, whatever you want to call it. We're going through division by division. We're doing the NFC East today. We're going to go through each team based on the standings from last year. And today we're doing the positives, the positive things that every team did this offseason. Maybe not the positives, the things that could go well for them, the things that they did, the moves that they made, the things that they didn't do, the moves that they didn't make, the changes and stuff. That's what we're talking about. Again, NFC East, I'm going to try to keep this on the rails. I'm going to try to keep this on the rails because I could talk about this division for 2 hours, but you don't want to listen to that. Let's get into it. Starting with the Eagles. Ended the season last year 11-6, lost in the wild card to the 49ers. Everything sucked. The offense was broken. Kevin Petullo was a football terrorist. It was a ugly offense last year. Everything looked broken. Everything looked difficult, and yet the Eagles still won the NFC East on back-to-back years for the first time since they did it in the 2003-2004 season, breaking a 20-year curse. So let's get into what they're doing. First thing that they did this offseason, fired Kevin Petullo. Get that asshole out of here. This guy, they didn't really fire him initially. They just demoted him, and then he just kind of vanished and then showed up in Miami, which, all right, I'm not entirely sure what they saw. But sure, Miami, that's great for you. Super happy. Anyway, Eagles hired Sean Mannion. Took him a long time to make the hiring. There's a bunch of guys, Mike McDaniel, the Brian Dables, they said no or didn't want to come to Philadelphia. I'm not entirely sure what the whole thing was. The Mike McDaniel thing was weird. Anyway, they got Sean Mannion. He's the young cat. Hasn't had a whole lot of coaching experience, zero play calling experience, but he comes from the Matt LaFleur tree of the Shanahan tree. I think is the best way to say it. It's going to be a Shanahan McVay style. He comes from the Matt LaFleur branch of the Sean McVay trunk of the Kyle Shanahan offense. So it's, distant but still the same. It's going to be much different than what the Eagles offense has been under Nick Sirianni in the past, and this is pretty much since 2021, 2022 definitely. Where the Eagles, everything that they did was just matchup based. It was you line up against the person across from you and you beat the shit out of them. And it worked. It really, really worked. In 2022, that Eagles offense was so goddamn good. It was so good, so explosive. It was so explosive that Jalen Hurts' passing numbers ended up not being he wasn't a 4,000-yard passer that season because they just beat this shit out of teams in the first half. In the second quarter in that 2022 season, they were outscoring teams like 150 to 25 throughout the season. It was something. It wasn't those numbers, but it was a crazy differential that they had in the second quarter alone. Beating the shit out of teams. Offense is super explosive. Go to the Super Bowl. Jalen Hurts plays his heart out. Jonathan Gannon sucks absolute shit. Doesn't come up with a game plan. Takes the entire postseason off. Has his sights set on the Arizona job. Patrick Mahomes has a flawless second half. Going into that offseason, Nick Sirianni didn't change anything. You can't do that. If you're that kind of an offense, you can't change nothing because everybody's looking at what you did and they're trying to, number one, see what they can take away from that, and number two, see what they can do to stop that. And Nick Sirianni said, fuck it, man. Got A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Jalen Hurts. We got the best offensive line in the NFL. Nobody's going to stop us. Nobody can stop us. We're just going to do the same thing. And then they did, and everything sucked shit in 2023. Epic collapse at the end of it. I think that was more based on what the defense didn't do. Thank you, Matt Patricia, you fucking rat. Come to 2024. They fired Brian Johnson after that 2023 season. Come to 2024, it's Kellen Moore's Nick Sirianni offense. The passing game was mostly the same. It was mostly still beat the shit out of the guy across from you and just go win, okay? And then they ended up just running the ball for 1,000,000 miles. I think Saquon ended up running for, what is 2005? Where's a calculator when I need one? What is 2005? 2005 times 3 divided by 5,280. He ran for over a mile that season, but the offense was still largely the same. Then last year, they do the same thing again with Kevin Patullo. Bad play calling, offense sucks. This matchup thing was not working for them anymore. You couldn't just beat the guy across from you. That's not the way that modern NFL offenses work. When they can either really work or they can be rarely, or they can be amazing. The amazing had been gone. So this year, they make this big change, go to this different style of offense, completely different. We're talking in the practice reports from training camp it's a rarity to see them in shotgun. There's so much under center. There's so much motion that's happening, and not just motion for motion's sake. It's motion that's actually useful. The offense is actually scheming people open. I mean, A.J. Brown's gone. He can beat this shit out of a person across from him and win. He's done that. That's kind of the thing that he does best. So the A.J. Brown's gone. They have this new offense. Everything looks different, and by the sound of things, everybody's bought in on it. Because you can have, and this is going to kind of be a theme when I get to the Cowboys, you can have an offense, you can have a scheme that you're going to run, but if you're not a good teacher, and I think I've said this about I can't remember which team it was, I said it a couple weeks ago. You can have this scheme, but if you can't teach it, if you can't explain what this offense is to people and the reasoning behind it, it's just nothing's going to happen. That's how come you get good guys who come from good offenses, come from the Shanahan tree, which is like a very I don't want to sound too smart. Is brains. It's a cerebral offense. You know, it's creating confusion is what it's doing. You're getting people open. The entire idea behind scheming something open is that you're tricking the defense. So it is a brainiac kind of an offense. And if you get a brainiac and this guy can't communicate worth a shit, then it's going to be bad. Based on what we're hearing is that Sean Mannion's fucking ripping it, dude. He is doing real good with this in the offense, and there's going to be growing pains with this because, again, brand new things that the guys in this offense have never done. Jeff Stoutland's gone. The fucking Lane Johnson has had the first time that he's had a different offensive line coach since when did he get drafted? 2014 or something like that? This is all brand new stuff. It's all brand new stuff. I think there's going to be growing pains, but I think the Sean Mannion offense is going to be delightful. You hear guys like Lane Johnson's talking about how this is the first time that he's actually not going to be put on an island, and he's great on an island. But this offense, the way the wide zone, the outside zone run scheme, he doesn't have to be on his own anymore. Everybody's talking about this is that this is going to be a great thing. So that is the big thing in a very long-winded way to say it. Second biggest thing that I think that the Eagles did that's going to be great, they signed Riq Woolen in free agency. People kind of forget. Riq Woolen absolutely rocks. He's like 6 something? Let me see if I can look that up real quick. You don't normally see big, tall cornerbacks. He's 6'4". I said 6'1". I'm an idiot. He's 6'4", 210. You don't normally see big cornerbacks like that because they don't have they're not able to get fluid. They can have some straight line and speed and closing speed and stuff like that, but they're not fluid. They don't really. They have kind of tighter hips. That's the entire thing with Keely Ringo is that he's built like this absolute specimen. Shit hips. He sucks. Riq Woolen, on the other hand, absolutely rocks. He did have, I think, what was that in 2024, 2023? He did get benched for a little bit, but I mean, he's it seems like he's kind of past that. I mean, he's got kind of like an attitude, which I think is something that's going to vibe real well with Nick Sirianni. But this guy, I mean, you look at this, what this is going to do for the Eagles offense. Vic Fangio's talking about like last year it was a Dory Jackson opposite of Keely Ringo when they were in their nickel offense, which they ran like more than like 70% of the time, where Cooper DeJean is the nickel. Vic Fangio, whenever they were in base, would take a Dory Jackson out of the game and put Cooper DeJean at the other outside corner. Okay. So now that it's Reek Woolen, he's talking about whenever they're in base, they're going to put Cooper DeJean at the other safety. So that means that it would be Quinyon Mitchell, Reek Woolen, Cooper DeJean, and either Drew Makuba or Marcus Epps or maybe Michael Carter, whoever that other safety is going to be in the back. He's talking about having the best people on the field is the thing that Vic Fangio wants to do the most. Okay, so whenever they're able to do that, and if the NFL is going to these heavier packages where like the Rams are doing 12, 13 personnel at times, the nickel defense is really good. But if you can go to base and have those bigger bodies and have Cooper DeJean and have these guys who can cover everybody while also keeping these big bodies on the field, this defense is going to be out of this world, out of control. They're going to be fucking gutting, dude. It's. I think that this adding Reek Woolen as a corner, if going into the offseason, if you said that what is the best way to upgrade the Eagles defense, adding a cornerback or a safety, that's as good as Reek Woolen. I'm saying corner, because then you can just put Cooper DeJean in the back, and then you can bring Cooper DeJean down. He's going to be able to be a big nickel, and it's a Fangio defense. He's a goddamn genius. Both Cooper and Vic, they're going to be able to do all kinds of rotations. It's going to be awesome. That's my point there. Reek Woolen, great. Third thing that they did, and I think this one I'm kind of doing it as a process thing, also as a player. Process is big for me here. They traded for Jonathan Grenard during the draft. He's coming from the Vikings. What Howie Roseman did is that he traded a couple third-round picks to the Vikings for a guy who has 24 and a half sacks, I think, between 2023 and 2024. He did only have 3 sacks last year. I think he's playing with an injury. Still really good at setting the edge. But he traded a couple third-round picks for this guy to a team that didn't have a general manager at the time. What was their Adolfo Mensa, I believe? Vikings GM fired. Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah was their GM. They fired him, and during the draft, they didn't have a GM, which kind of makes sense based on some of the picks that they made during the draft. That's a fleecing. I don't. If I'm the owner of a team and I don't have a GM, I say, whoever the acting GM is or whatever brain trust it is, let's just block Howie Roseman's number, because if he calls you, you're gonna get fucked. And I think that's exactly what Howie Roseman did to the Vikings. He fucked them, man. He did good. Because the whole thing with the offseason is that, and I brought this up when I was talking about the NFC South the other day, was the Eagles wanted to keep Jalen Phillips in free agency, but the Panthers offered him $30 million a year, and that was way over what Howie Roseman is willing to spend. So they needed another defensive end, another edge rusher like that, and they couldn't get it there. So they went and got him. They went and got him from the franchise with their pants down. Genius. That's all you can really say. I mean, that's the if you had a day where you could be the best GM in the NFL, that should be picking on a franchise that doesn't have a GM. That should be on your to-do list. That's what I would argue. That I think that makes sense. That definitely makes sense. But Jonathan Grenard, unfortunately, he tore his pec before training camp, and not tore, maybe sprained or strained. I don't know, whatever it was, but he's out right now. Sounds like he's not going to get any training camp, which is kind of a shitty thing, because Vic has said that Vic only really cares about practice. I mean, he's an old school cat. Like that's the thing he cares about, and he said that he's going to be having Jonathan Grenard do some things that he's not like done a whole lot of, which I'm assuming means dropping into coverage. because that's what you do as a outside linebacker in a Fangio defense. It sucks. I think that Grenard's still going to be good. It sucks that he's going from one injury to another injury. Kind of a bummer, but the process behind what Howie Roseman did was flawless, and that was truly delightful. Okay. Going on to the Cowboys. The Cowboys ended their season 7-9. 7-9-1. Sorry, they tied the. Did they tie the Giants? No, they didn't tie the Giants. They tied the Packers in that game that was like 40-40 or something like that because Matt LaFleur's a coward. They got rid of Matt Dweeberflus. He was their DC last year, because they had a historically bad defense. It wasn't just historically bad on an NFL or on a franchise standpoint, which it was, but it was historically bad on a NFL standpoint too. Point of view standpoint. You guys get what I mean. That's where I'm focusing here. Is what the good things that they did on that defense, because they're keeping the offense almost exactly the same. Franchise tag George Pickens, gave Javonte Williams some money. I believe Tyler Guyton is going to be the left tackle. I know they're saying that there's a camp competition there. I don't necessarily believe that. Offense is staying almost exactly the same. I think this kind of falls maybe a little bit in line with that 2022 Eagles thing, where maybe you got to change something up, especially if you're so good. You got to change something up. I'm curious to see if that works for him, but we're talking positives right now. They got rid of Matt Eberflus, hired Christian Parker. Christian Parker is a Fangio guy. He was the Eagles defensive backs coach for the last 2 seasons. All-time vibes guy. Darius Slay, absolutely love the dude. There's a good reason to believe that Christian Parker is going to bring a good version, albeit a bastardized version, because Vic Fangio doesn't share like all of his brain stuff with the people in his tree. That's why you see guys like Sean Desai and Brandon Staley did well for a minute as another Vic Fangio guy, but he kind of farted out. He's doing a little bit better now. But the Fangio defense is a Fangio thing. So I believe that Christian Parker is going to do a good job because he's a good coach. But one of the things that Vic Fangio does the best is that he changes he changes the game. Like you think about, I guess that this is the one that's on the top of my mind, but you think about like the Chargers game last year where they go down the field and score in like 6 plays or something like that. And then after that, the Eagles defense just beats the shit out of the Chargers and ended up losing in overtime. But that's what Vic Fangio offers. I don't know if Christian Parker is necessarily going to be able to bring that right out of the gate, but he's a young cat. He's coming into this with a good plan, and he's got a lot of experience developing guys. That's kind of a huge thing that you're getting with him, okay? Because you think about in the last 2 seasons with the Eagles, turns Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean into all-pro players in their second year. And that's not the first time he did it, because he did that. You think about him going back to when Fangio was with the Broncos, and what was that, 2021 was Fangio's last year with the Broncos. That was the year they drafted Pat Surtain, and then in 2022, Christian Parker is still he was with Fangio with the Broncos in 2021. In 2022, Christian Parker still stays with the Broncos, turns Pat Surtain into an All-Pro in his second season as well. He's really good at making these DBs turn into just the fucking best. So that's great, and that kind of flows into the next thing, is that they drafted Caleb Downs 11th overall. Caleb Downs was the 3-time All-American. First time he was an All-American was at Bama. Next 2 times All-American at Ohio State. The guy is so good at safety that he makes it boring. He just erases area codes of the field. The guy, he's so good that it's boring. Very good reason to believe that he's going to be able to do that again this year. Now, or in the NFL, the risk that the Cowboys took here is that drafting a safety in the first round, that doesn't happen that often. I think there are somewhere between 4 and 7 safeties that played. There were 75 safeties that played 200 snaps last year across the NFL. And I think it's somewhere between like 4 and 7 safeties were first-round draft picks. And then it just doesn't happen. It's a very rare thing for a safety to go in the first round, especially as high as pick 11. That being said, typically the first safeties that get picked in drafts in the first round are the good ones. You get into a risky business when you start making the second or third safety pick in the first round. You look at the Vikings with Lewis Cine, guy ended up being dog shit. And they picked him 32nd overall, whatever season that was, 2022 maybe? I don't know, whatever the hell it was. So I think that Caleb Downs is going to be really good. But what's interesting is the reports that are coming out of the Cowboys camp is that they're moving him all around. They have him lined up at safety. They have him lined up as a big nickel. They have him lined up as an edge. They have him in the box. They have him everywhere. And that if that's good, then that's great. If I think that's a little bit risky, and maybe this is that concussion uncle brain that I brag about, that I endorse, that I love about myself, is I want a guy to be perfect in one spot before you start making him a queen on the board. You know what I mean? I want you to be perfect at your job before you go start doing another job too. And maybe, listen, again, Christian Parker knows what the fuck he's doing. Maybe Caleb Downs is already there. And if he is already there, that's horrifying. That's a terrifying thing. That is a terrifying thing. You think about Micah Parsons, his first season in the NFL. They had him actually as an inside linebacker, but he ended up doing 50-50, roughly 50-50 of his snaps, I believe. Very close to it. Whatever. You get what I mean. Playing inside linebacker and edge. Like, this is obviously it's a completely different scheme and everything like that. But this is a franchise that has had good experience, a good history of these versatile players. And I say a good history, they've done it once recently, of having these versatile guys. So maybe Caleb Downs is the absolute truth. And again, terrified if that's true. God damn. He's going to be great. And Christian Parker is going to do some really gross things. My hope is that Mike McCarthy got hired to the Steelers, which is like the first time that they have ever, number one, hired a head coach who's old, and number two, who's not in his 30s. Mike McCarthy, I think, is 62, and also the first time that they've ever hired an offensive guy. Seems like he's kind of just a placeholder, so I'm really hoping that Christian Parker kind of turns things around on the Cowboys' defense this year, and then the Steelers swoop in and then hire Christian Parker, because he's in his 30s. I think that would be great for them and get him out of my life. The other thing that the Cowboys did that was good, it was kind of between these two things. They traded for Rashawn Gary. They traded a 4th round pick to the Packers and got Rashawn Gary. But based on some other stuff that I'm seeing out of the Cowboys training camp, Jayshawn Barham he was their 3rd round pick out of Michigan. In Michigan, did 1 year as a inside linebacker, did 1 year as an edge, was really good as an edge. Apparently he's lighting it up in practice, and I don't. This is a defense that desperately needed help at linebacker. Like desperately needed help at linebacker, because they would be going into the season with DeMarvion Overshown and D. Winters and Shamar James, and that's not good. DeMarvion Overshown has shown that he can be a good linebacker, but he's always hurt. But you get Jayshawn Barham, like this is a guy who can be really good at the line of scrimmage, and then also just be a rock solid linebacker. And to get him in the 3rd round, I don't know. This is a defense that needed a whole lot of help with the guts of their defense. And if they fall ass backwards into a guy like this, and call it falling ass backwards into a guy like that's not like they got him in free agency for $1 million or something like that. This is a guy they spent a 3rd round pick on. So their scouting department knows what they're doing. Shout out Klein Kubiak, if that's his area, whatever. It's scary. I'm not afraid, but it is scary that they get a guy who's going to be a useful piece in the 3rd round of the draft. And it sounds like, and you see the videos, and he's just been the star of that camp so far. Again, Caleb Downs it sounds like he's out like overshowing Caleb Downs in training camp, and that's it's if I think it's scary, then it's gonna be a good thing for the Cowboys. That's my point there. So that's the Cowboys, what they got going on. Commanders. They ended the season. They ended the season with a 5-12 record. Coming off of their really, really good 2024 season, everything just fell apart. Jaden Daniels gets broken in pieces, turns his elbow into goo. Everything's bad. They get rid of Cliff Kingsbury. They hire David Blau. I'm only staying positive here. I think that was dumb. I'm only staying positive. David Blau hiring was very dumb. I'm staying positive. Joe Witt Jr. is gone. They hired Durante Jones as their defensive coordinator. This just happened today. First big thing that I think that's going to be good for them. They signed Stephon Diggs. They signed Stephon Diggs to a 1-year deal. They needed somebody to catch the ball because they only really had Terry McLaurin. Is Terry McLaurin, Treylon Burks, Antonio Williams, Luke McCaffrey. Terry McLaurin, he's the only one that could catch the ball. Like, he's the only one that you really trust to catch the ball there. So I was going to go into this, or I was going to go into the negative thing, writing that out with like my outline for it was going to be who the fuck is catching the ball besides Terry McLaurin. They went and got Stephon Diggs coming off of a good season with the Patriots. That's scary. Not scary. I just don't like it. I just don't like it. I don't like that they got a guy. Fun thing though, with the whole Commanders signing old people, Stephon Diggs is only 2 years older than Terry McLaurin, which is kind of crazy. Like Terry McLaurin, where do I have this at? Terry McLaurin, he's going to be 31 next month, and Stephon Diggs is going to be turning 33, I think, in December, something like that, later on. Kind of weird. I think Stephon Diggs was 20? When did he get drafted? 2015, and Terry McLaurin got drafted in 2019. Stop drafting old people, I think that's my take. So that's good for them. Getting another guy to catch the ball is good. They also, second good thing, they paid Odafe Owe. They gave him a 4-year contract for $100 million. 68 of it's guaranteed, so really it's just like a 3-year deal. He had 17 and a half sacks over the last 2 seasons, 10 of them in 2024, 7.5 in 2025. A lot of that's due, he was not vibing well with that Ravens offense or Ravens defense last year. He's edge rusher. He was not vibing with that Ravens defense. He's getting pressures and everything like that, but he was just not being productive in a sack sense. I mean, he's obviously affecting things, but I mean, that defense in Baltimore sucked shit last year. So they traded him to the Chargers, comes alive when he gets to LA, 7.5 sacks. He's awesome. I was confused on what he was going to do, who was going to pay him in free agency. I didn't know if he was going to follow Jesse Minter back to Baltimore, or if the Chargers going to try to keep him there because they traded for him. But no, he ends up going to Washington. That's a team that desperately needed help on the defensive line. Again, they had another really bad defense last year. Pretty much everybody except for the Eagles had a bad defense in the NFC East last year. That's where a lot of the stuff that I'm focusing on is here. So good for them. They got a real a pass rusher who's going to be who got paid real money. Not great against the run. But that's why you get this third guy I'm talking about. They drafted Sonny Styles with their first pick in the draft, which was the 7th overall pick. Sonny Styles, linebacker out of Ohio State. This one sucks. 6'5", 250 pounds. He's turning 22 years old in November, so still a young guy. He's fast. He's explosive. He's smart. He's everything that you want a linebacker to be. Beats the shit out of linemen. Beats the shit out of tight ends. He's great at covering. Great at tackling. He's fast. He can blitz from everywhere. Blitz from everywhere. You want to mug the A gap? Sure. Fuck it. You want him to blitz from 5 yards deep? That's not a problem at all. He's got the potential. He's got the potential to be an all-pro linebacker. Maybe not this year. He's up there for guys who could be a defensive player of the year or defensive rookie of the year. He's just really fucking good, man. And what the rest of the NFC East did in the first round of the draft with the people that they got, it's just. They got some guys who are potential franchise staples, man. It is Sonny Styles is going to be really good. And again, it's a defense that needed help everywhere. They're recharging the guts. They're filling they're getting their guts filled. Sonny Styles is filling up their guts. It's the kind of guy that you build the defense around. And he's, again, young. He's going to be there forever. Sucks. Don't like that. Why can't I liked it better when Dan Snyder was there. I do like this Adam Peters thing where last year he just signed a whole bunch of old people. But I liked it better when Dan Snyder was there. Yeah, bad guy. Terrible guy, but I want other teams in the NFC East to be owned by terrible people. They make bad decisions, and it makes my life easier. Go Birds. Okay, Giants. Giants big time changes this offseason makes sense because they went 4-13 last season. They get rid of Brian Dable. They got rid of Brian Dable last season. Mike Kafka was the interim head coach. Beat it, nerd. They get rid of they just got rid of everything. Hire John Harbaugh as their new head coach. Denard Wilson is their defensive coordinator. Matt Nagy is their offensive coordinator. Staying positive. Matt Nagy's their offensive coordinator. Staying positive. What a goddamn buffoonery that is. John Harbaugh is the first big thing. Obviously, he's a floor raiser. He's a floor raiser for a franchise that is bottomed out. For definitely the last 3 seasons, but I mean, they've been cycling head coaches not nearly as often as they should, because John Mara's whole thing is I don't want to fire people because then I'll he doesn't want to, because I'm trying to got a bunch of thoughts. I have the theory, not the theory. I have one of my rules is that you fire people when they're bad. You don't want to put people on thin ice. Brian Dable last year is he is the prototype for that reason, because then he starts making decisions like having Jackson Dart run the ball a shitload, and then he gets a billion concussions. Starts doing things to save his job. But John Mara's whole thing is that he doesn't want to fire coaches that often, because then it'll seem like he's just a franchise that fires that he's an owner of a franchise that just fires coaches. It's like, well, yeah, they're fucking terrible though. Like, you don't keep a guy around just because you don't want to seem like the guy who fires people. Like, what are you talking about? The guy sucks shit at his job. Then you get rid of him. Like, so he finally did get rid of Brian Dable, hired John Harbaugh. I don't think that he's going to be the coach that you'll hear a lot coming from New York about how John Harbaugh is the golden god that's going to bring them back to the promised land. I think that's just because the football media in New York has just been talking to a goddamn buffoon for the better part of the last decade. Like, it's just been idiots. So they finally get a guy that can run a professional football team. And it seems like John Harbaugh is doing everything. It seems like they extended Joe Shane, who's technically their GM, but it sounds like John Harbaugh is making all of the decisions. You just got Joe Shane there to be the fall guy. That's a genius move. He's going to raise the floor of that team. I don't think he's going to raise the ceiling, though. He'll also be able to get the most out of Jackson Dart. You think about what he was able to do with Lamar Jackson. Also, keep in mind, John Harbaugh was on his way out of Baltimore when they drafted Lamar Jackson. Just keep that in mind. Like, it's not like he's a good head coach. I'm not saying he's a good head coach. He's a good head coach. Or I'm not saying he's not a good head coach. He's a good head coach. He's not good. He's not a world beater. Okay? He's not a world beater. He's going to turn that franchise around, and it's going to be significantly better than what it has been. But the bar was just in the goddamn floor. And he's going to make that. You guys get it. You all understand what I'm saying. You're smart. Next best thing that I think they did, and I'm going to kind of encapsulate this into one thing. They traded Dexter Lawrence to the Bengals for the Bengals' first round pick, which was the 10th overall pick. Good that you're getting rid of. I mean, Dexter Lawrence, you got rid of him after a down season, instead of paying him or extending him or anything like that, which I think can be bad because he was kind of like the staple for that defense. However, their defensive line is absolutely loaded. I mean, you're looking at Brian Burns, Darius Alexander, DJ Reader. They have Kayvon Thibodeau, Abdul Carter's in there too. Like, they have a very good defensive line. Dexter Lawrence fucking rocked though. I mean, he was very, very, very good. But they did get that pick, and I was unhappy that the Bengals actually did that trade because what that led to was they got Francis Mauanoa. He was the right tackle at Miami, Florida. He's good, man. They're gonna end up throwing him at right guard because Jermaine Illuminor is gonna be their right tackle. He's a very big guy, very big, strong, powerful guy. He's only 21 years old. Just like Sonny Styles is a building block for that Commanders defense, I think that Francis Mauanoa is going to be a building block for this offensive line. I think he's going to be really good, and he can play multiple positions. That sucks. But again, we also said the same thing about Evan Neal in 2022. We thought he was going to be the truth. So fingers crossed that Francis Mauanoa turns out to be just another Evan Neal and not a god tier right guard offensive lineman in general. Another good thing, the last good thing that they did, the third best thing that they did, they revamped their linebacker just situation. Room, I guess, is the way that you would say it. They signed Tremaine Edmonds in free agency. He's been around for a minute. I think he's drafted in 2018. Coming from a really good season in Chicago. I think he had 4 interceptions. I'm guess they're hoping that they're going to get some kind of payoff like that with him. Turnovers, especially from a linebacker, that's not exactly something that really translates from season to season. But still, he's a good linebacker. He's a really good linebacker. Not really good He's a good linebacker, and that's going to make that. He's a good veteran, especially because the other thing is that they drafted Arvell Reese, another linebacker from Ohio State. I guess the entire NFC East just drafted Ohio State guys, except for the Eagles. He's the closest thing to Micah Parsons that we've seen since Micah Parsons. Now, granted, it's only been 5 drafts, something like that, but he's got that kind of versatility to play at the edge and actually be a very, very good linebacker as well. He's still 20 years old, so another young guy. Again, man, they just so much better talent on defenses. I don't think this is the kind of talent that's going to like win them a season or anything right now, but it sucks that linebackers and safeties. Why couldn't they just get like a rotational defensive tackle? Why couldn't they have overdrafted somebody like that? He's got Arvell Reese has got a lighter frame. He's 6'4". He's still 240 pounds. So he's still a very big guy. But you watch it, you look at him. He's got a little bit of a lighter frame. He's incredibly fast. Got good closing speed because he's really good. And they drafted him early. What did they draft him? 5th overall? Is that what it was? I believe. Let's see. Where's it at? I believe it was 5th overall. I could be dumb. Yeah, 5th overall. They drafted him 5th overall. That's what you get when you draft a guy that high. He's going to be awesome. I'm very curious to see how they use him. If they do try to do a Micah Parsons thing, because he has that kind of capability, again, I think that's dumb. I think that you put the guy one spot and then just like with Caleb Downs, I think you get him perfect at one spot, then you can move him around. Very curious to see what they do. Hopefully they overextend him and he ends up not reaching his potential at multiple places. That would be great. I would appreciate that. I don't know, man. That's it. I think I did 38-ish minutes. I did a good job trying to keep it succinct. I could talk about it for a lot longer, and maybe I'll rehash some more of the NFC stuff after I get done with all the previews. But that's it. The Eagles, good things that they did. Get rid of Kevin Patullo, hire Sean Mannion, sign Reek Woolen, trade with a GM-less franchise and get Jonathan Grenard. Cowboys hired Christian Parker, drafted Caleb Downs, and Jayshon Barham seems like he might be a dude. If not a guy, he's definitely a guy, but he might be a dude. The Commanders signed Stephon Diggs. They just did that today. They paid Odafe Owe. They drafted Sonny Styles. The Giants got John Harbaugh, going to raise the floor of the franchise. Traded Dexter Lawrence and got a good payoff for him, and then they revamped the linebacker room. So yeah, I mean the teams in the NFC East got better where they were bad, and that's not something that this conference as a whole has done. It was a good offseason for the NFC East. But obviously, go Birds, and they're still going to win. Thank you guys very much for listening. Hopefully, I didn't say anything too stupid. I do all this in one take because I don't know how to edit, and I don't really want to learn how to edit. But my name is Jake. I will talk to you guys next time with the negatives that all these teams did. Though, that just gave me some juice. Getting a little tight in the pants now, baby. Ooh, can't wait to talk about all the stupid shit. Oh, man. Oh, this is going to be fun. This is going to be fun. I'll talk to you guys later.